Thousands of years ago, humans could speak, think, and feel, but they could not preserve memory. What was learned was passed verbally, and when someone died, their knowledge died with them. There were no books, no records, no history. Then humans began farming. People would remember numbers and quantities and pass them orally. I have 5 goats. I have 5 goats of wheat, baskets of wheat, but memory was unreliable. People would forget, make mistakes, or sometimes exaggerate their numbers. So humans began using physical objects to keep count: stones, shells, or small pebbles. Each item represented 1 unit. 5 pebbles equals 5 goats, knots on ropes or strings. Each knot represented 1 unit. Wanted 1 unit. Marks on bones or sticks, scratches indicated quantities. They grew wheat, raised animals, and trade started to grow. People began bringing grain to the temple as tax. A priest sat there whose job was to keep track of everyone's account. Who gave how much grain, who still owed, who should get back how much. At first, he tried to remember everything, but soon the problem became impossible. Some people were honest and genuinely forgot how much grain they had given, but some were very clever. They would give 5 sacks and later claim, "We gave 10. When the priest said he didn't remember, they immediately argued, "Are you calling us liars?
I'm
By
innocent.
God,
Your
we
words
gave
mean
10.
nothing.
They
No,
swore,
look
they
at my hands,
acted,
they're
and they
clean.
confused the priest. If he challenged them, fights would break out. If he agreed, the temple lost resources. Often he agreed. The tricksters would go outside laughing. We fooled the priest again today. This happened every day. Memory became unreliable, and deception increased. One night, the priest sat worried and thought, "If only I could store all this somewhere outside my mind." He picked up wet clay from the ground and flattened it. He took a small stick and pressed a mark into the clay. It was the symbol for grain. Then he pressed 5 small marks beside it, meaning 5 sacks of grain. He started recording everyone's account on clay like this. No names, just marks, but each mark was the truth. The next day, the same clever man arrived. He said, "We gave 10 sacks," and began swearing as usual.
I gave 10 grain sacks.
10? We saw only 5.
No, 10 full sacks, I swear it.
God is my witness. The priest stayed calm. He picked up the clay tablet, looked at the marks, and said, "You gave 5 sacks." The man was stunned and tried to swear more, but the priest called over the others. He showed each account one by one. Every account was completely correct. Then he looked at the man and said, "When everyone else's account is correct, how can yours be wrong?" The man fell silent. For the first time, his lies had failed. People were amazed. They asked, "How do you remember all this?" The priest smiled and said, "I didn't remember. The clay remembered. This was the moment the world's first writing was born. There were no letters, no words, only marks. But these marks eventually evolved. Pictures became symbols, symbols became sounds, and sounds became words. Humanity had changed. Now humans could write laws, record trade, preserve stories, and pass knowledge to generations. Memory was no longer confined to the brain. It was now stored on clay, stone, and tablets. This invention wasn't made for knowledge. It was made to prevent deceit. Yet, it gave birth to history. Imagine a man pressing marks into clay with a stick, unaware that this small mark would one day become books, laws, religion, science, libraries, and even the internet. The day humans made a mark on clay, they didn't just keep accounts. They preserved truth forever, and history began. Who was the real hero? No king, no scientist, just an ordinary priest with an ordinary problem and a piece of clay. Necessity created one of the greatest inventions in human history. This is why historians say, writing is the line between prehistory and history. Before writing equals prehistory, after writing equals history, because now history could be recorded. The day humans drew a mark on clay, they didn't just make a symbol, they wrote the beginning of history. Pictures became symbols, symbols became sounds. At first, a drawing of a cow meant a cow. A drawing of grain meant grain. Over time, the drawings became simpler. They turned into lines and marks. Then, a revolutionary idea came. People started using symbols not for objects, but for sounds. Sounds. This was the true birth of writing.